So today's video is about Paperless-ngx. This is a free and open source self-hosted application. And what it actually is it's a document management system that transforms your physical documents into a searchable online archive. So for those of you that like to sort of organize and have all your receipts, your contracts, your user manuals, your various, other things that you want to have properly organized and fully searchable and so on, this is a sort of the product for you. If you're not that sort of person, I am at the end of the video just going to briefly show an alternative product that I do use for searching all my documents that are scattered across my hard drive all over the place. It actually does work fairly well. It's a different type of product to this, but for people that do not like to tag and sort of upload everything specifically, that may also be the product, for you. So what I'm going to cover in today's video, though, is what is this product not, some of its key features, the basic requirements to run it and operate it. We'll tour through the user interface as usual, and I'll end off looking at the various menu settings for the application. And then, as I said, I will also right at the end of the video just quickly show the other alternative desktop searcher or indexer. So, if that's all you're interested in and you don't want to do tagging and organizing your documents, you can sort of jump straight to the end. And yes, I know the videos can be a little bit long, so there will be chapter settings underneath the video, which you can just click on and jump forward, if you need to. And then just bear in mind also, my videos are overviews of a product to help you decide if it's something you'd like to use or could be of use to you. It is not a how to install video. No steps about how to install it or, how to go about it really specifically. I will in this video share my Docker Compose file because it is relevant to something I'm going to be speaking about. So that may at least assist and help people. And I'll put some links below the video as well to the website and various other useful resources. So what is it not? Well, as I alluded to in the beginning, it is an archiver, a proper archiving tool. You upload or you scan or you drop into a folder or whatever, and then you tag your documents. And that is how you can then search and find them. Also, because of the nature of how it operates, it's shareable amongst multiple users. So that could be employees or, other family members, that sort of thing. So yeah, very useful if family does need to find something that you've scanned in and, your desktop PC is off, or they don't know where to find it on your desktop PC, or they can't log into it. It's ideal for that type of operation. And then, as I said, it's not a desktop searcher or indexer. A desktop searcher or indexer generally indexes what's existing on your drive across all the various directories or the ones you've pointed it to index to. And I have got a fairly good one that does quite a good job of that, which, as I said, I'll show at the end, but it's not that type of product. Some of the key features: privacy first and foremost. Because you're self-hosting it, it's not sitting up in a cloud somewhere. It's not able to be hacked in the cloud. The cloud provider can't sell your information. And then also it doesn't, because it's open source, it's not sharing your data to anybody else, to a Google or anything else either. So, privacy and confidentiality, I think, is first and foremost one of its biggest features. Then regarding uploading of the documents, it can watch a folder, which means that you can take various files from wherever in your file explorer or your file manager and just drop them into a folder, that whichever folder you've set up, configured to watch, and it'll upload those files into the system. Many scanners do the same thing. A scanner will scan and push files into a particular directory on a hard drive. And again, if this app is running, it'll watch that drive and it will actually start doing its scanning and indexing. Or you can also use the mobile apps for Android or for iOS, and that will allow you to take photographs of a document or upload what you've got on the phone already, JPEG images, that sort of thing. And lastly, the other way, of course, is to actually just upload by doing a normal browse in the application, which is in the web browser view. And you can then just, select 4 or 5 documents and upload them into the system. Another interesting feature it does have is it can also import emails, and this is via the IMAP protocol. So typically, say you had a Google account, which maybe is a business email address or something like that. If you've configured the IMAP, it will import all the sent and received emails as well, and also put them through the whole OCR formatting and converting to PDF for evidence later on, or whatever, archiving, or whatever you want to need to do with it. So that comes to the next 2 points there, really. And the OCRing, or the optical character recognition, of all documents for full text search. What this means is that obviously PDFs, whatever you upload, those will be converted to full text. But this also includes things like JPEG images and other documents that are being uploaded. It will recognize text inside the photograph or other, whether it's an Office document or ODF document or whatever the case is. They all get OCR'd. So you've got a full text search through everything. All your receipts, for example, if you've taken a photograph of a receipt and scanned it into the system or uploaded it into the system, the detail, like the date and the company name and the amount and the description of the product, those will all be OCR'd into the system. If you need to find a receipt 5 years later, you can search for mouse or Logitech or whatever the case is, and you should be able to find your receipt. The other thing is the PDF-A format is a long-time archival type format in PDF, which means that if you need to read a document in 20 or 30 or 40 years' time, that PDF-A format is a type that should be supported into the future for any other products or whatever is being used in the future. So it gives you a long-time archival type format. And for many archives or libraries or various of these other types of organizations, that's often a requirement that it should be formatted and stored in that format. It still will keep the original that you've uploaded, whether it was a normal PDF or a JPEG or whatever the case is, but it will always create this PDF-A format as well for you, which is like the archive version, which is not editable. Then they use machine language, note not AI or artificial intelligence, machine language as it should be, for auto tagging and document typing and so on of the uploaded documents. It learns sort of over time, and based on the type of document or the format and things like that, it can apply sort of auto tagging and document types to your documents. I did just mention there, though, also in brackets, the Ticker and the Gutenberg applications. They really do need to be installed side by side with this application. The reason being is because certain formats will only be recognized, like specifically the Microsoft Office formats for spreadsheets and word processing and so on, and the Open Document format or ODF. That and a few others. Ticker and Gutenberg will assist with the recognition and processing of those documents. So just bear in mind, if you haven't installed them, you might find something says doesn't recognize the document. My Docker Compose file that I'll be sharing, it does specifically show how I configured all of that. And the reason why it's important is because specifically the Gutenberg app, there's been quite a few complaints that like one version doesn't work, then the next version works, then one version doesn't work. And a few people have had issues and problems with it. So what I've put in my Docker Compose is definitely working for me at the moment. So, if you've stuck with a problem like that, that could assist you. Then the formats it typically obviously recognizes is things like PDF, plain text documents, CSV type documents, that sort of thing. Various of the popular images like PNG, JPEG, TIFF, that sort of thing, including WebP, which is quite nice. That's a more modern format, web format for images. And then things like Microsoft Offices, from presentations to spreadsheets to word processing, and then Open Document format, ODF files as well. All those things, you can just drop them in as is and they'll be processed. What it doesn't do, though, is no HEIC or HEIF. And those are the image formats that Samsung and iPhone have now been using by default. And there's quite a request for that. So I'm hoping it does get supported in future. But at the moment, just bear that in mind. And then also no MP4 video files and no EPUB ebook format either. That document searcher index I spoke about, that actually does do EPUB. So if you're interested in that, that product will do it. Then custom fields, quite useful. Obviously all the typical fields that you'd be using for archiving and storage is available, but you could have specific custom fields relating maybe to your family or to your business, something specific around the products that you produce, that sort of thing. You can add your own additional custom fields and then tag your documents accordingly as well to help with the sorting and the searching. Correspondence, that was another thing that puzzled me a little bit in the beginning. A term they use quite a bit. Maybe it's a standard term, I don't know, but it lost me a little bit. Essentially, all correspondence is people or organizations that are associated with a specific document. So it could be like an email that gets sent to a particular business or gets received from a particular business. Or in my case, I'm using it for people. So I upload all the documents at home. So I'm the owner of all documents by default as I've uploaded them. But what I've done is I've created a correspondent for myself and for my wife. And then if I need to scan any of my wife's documents in, I'll just set her as the correspondent. So if she wants to find her documents, she just filters on correspondent equal to herself, and she gets her documents. It's just an easy way for me to use correspondence, but you could use it any way you want, really. And then lastly, shareable public links. You can share a link to anybody else for either the document that's scanned or the archival document. But just remember, by default, and I'm using it like that on my LAN at the moment, just using the IP address. I can't share that outside of my network to somebody. They're going to have to be physically on the network to see that IP address. So if you want to share it more publicly or outside, then you'd have to use a domain name and like a reverse proxy to expose the system to the internet. It's not obviously the whole system to the internet, but what I mean is that if you share a link with domainname.com/whatever, a person can click on it and they should be able to then access the document. So the type of requirements now for the system. First of all, the website address at the top, pretty key because it gives you a wealth of information around configuration, installation, terminology, all that sort of thing. I'd really recommend you do go through it a bit, but just for reference purposes, that is the address at the top. It will actually run on a Raspberry Pi 3B or better. So you can host this at home using even a Raspberry Pi if you want to, and just connect it onto your LAN, and you'd have your archival system, connect a hard drive onto it or whatever the case is. The types of installation can either be a Docker installation, which is the easier way to do it, because especially if it comes to dependencies and all those other things you need to install, honestly, Docker wraps everything into one, and it literally takes less than a minute and your installation's up and running. Or you can do a bare metal install. That is for Linux only. So the Docker will still be able to run on Windows and other platforms, but the bare metal, which is the manual install method, that is a Linux only. I've put the link there to my Docker Compose file as well. As I said, maybe that will assist some people just trying to figure out any sort of syntax type issues or problems they've got. Then I've also just noted there, I created a user with, and I put the command there because this puzzled me. I did the whole installation, but the database and the stuff was not active. It was not running yet. And it did require me to just stand in the container that was created, the ngx one, and execute that python manage.py create super user. Once that was done, everything sort of came to life and worked. So keep that in mind. I have already mentioned there about the ticker and the Gothenburg for parsing and converting of Office documents and so on, and as well as, by the way, for emails, that EML extension at the end there, that is for emails. Now, I've tested it so far by just exporting an email. I could go into Gmail and I could go into Proton Mail and I could say export email, and it saves it as an email, as a .eml file. And that I can show you just now does actually work. It scans it in and it works quite nicely. And then just to mention the two mobile apps or the two platforms there for Android, it seems like the recommended one is Paperless Mobile, but there's also one called Paperless App and Paperless Share. So you could try at least those three apps. And on iOS platform, there is Quick Scan for iOS, or there's also Swift Paperless is the other one. And then lastly, if you're just wondering how do I actually get it to get up and run, you basically, once it's installed and it's running on your Raspberry Pi or your VPS server or whatever you're running, you'll just point your browser to HTTP and whatever your internal IP address is, 192.168 whatever, colon, and it's the port number 8010. That's the default anyway, and that should get you straight onto your application. And that really is as far as the presentation goes. So I'm going to then sort of jump into the application and on that browser address and show you what the application actually looks like. So if you've navigated to that browser address, this is the page you would see by default as the dashboard. I've obviously configured a few things already, so you'll see it's got the name. It's got the name at the top there, Gadgeteer ZA Archive, and it's got a welcome here, my name. It's got a logo. This is, by the way, where the custom logo goes. I thought it was going to be replacing this logo at the top left, the little symbol there, but no, it's not. So just bear in mind, if you wonder where on earth the logo is, this is where it appears. Then this is just some of the stats it's going to show you about what's already in. So you'll see I've only done 87 documents so far. There's a total characters recognized of over 6.5 million characters, and then it's giving you a summary here by document type as well. So 64% of mine were PDF documents, 3.4 were text documents, JPEG images were 18%, emails 2.3%, WebP format 3.4%, and other about 8%. This gives you a summary also of a few other key things here, like tags. I've got about 23 tags I'm using. I've got the 2 correspondents I mentioned before, myself and my wife. Document types, I've set 12 so far, and I've got 1 custom storage path set up. What you see here on the bottom right is how you would upload a new document into the system, or you could just drag it here onto the page. And so I think this is to have a look then and see how a typical document would look, and I just don't want to put in anything like super private, so I'll try and find something that's a bit more generic, like say maybe under batteries. There's a cheat sheet I've got for the Sky RC MC 3000 charger. That'll be maybe a good one. I'll click open there, and you'll see on the bottom right here, it's already uploaded it and it's waiting. Now what it's probably busy doing at the moment is doing its processing for the OCR recognition and so on. And depending on how complex the document is, or how much text and so on there is, or how big the document is, how many pages, it can take a little bit longer. It does have a progress bar. You should sort of see there's a sort of a green color up to about there at the moment, indicating it is busy working. If you want to also have a look at the progress and to see whether it's completed or not, you can also click here at the bottom on the left hand side saying file tasks, and you'll see there it'll tell you here if there's any failed processing of documents. It'll also tell you what's being completed, what's been started, and what's queued at the moment. So it can obviously churn through 20-30 documents and just take its time going through scanning them all, that sort of thing. So you could now just go click there to open this document, or so we've done the dashboard view, so we can now just go to the documents view otherwise, and that's how we can go and see these are all the documents that are scanned in. And you'll see there is the cheat sheet one we've just scanned in. And it has applied a tag by default called manual. Let's try to think that this is a manual. You'll see from the others that I've got here, some have got tags like camera manual, there's another manual, there's fitness. If you look at the details underneath here, you'll see there, this one over there indicates it's a receipt type. That's a manual. These are the document types. Manual is the date. There's an image. There's a magazine over there. What else have we got? More images down here. There's a presentation as well, a presentation file that was probably an ODF or a Microsoft Office presentation, that sort of thing. But let's just go and let me show you just how we process this document now. You go to the edit over here, the little edit symbol, and you can tidy this up if you want to. For example, the title. It's taken the title now from the file name at the moment as the default. But if you want it to be a bit tidier, you can just clean that up. If you've got a specific archive serial number, or you want to append the next one, you could actually just do that there. I'm not really worrying. It does file everything with an internal document number. So every single thing that's on the drive does have, but you can override that there. This is the date created. Now, it obviously picked that up from the file date. That document's been sitting on my hard drive by default, but you could again change it over there. The correspondent, it's set to myself by default, and I've actually got a little workflow over here that does that, sets it up by default. But that's where you would go and override it if I needed to change that, say to my wife's name. The document type, it's taken as a manual. These are the types that I've defined so far, and I suppose yes, this probably is a manual. It could be a reference document as well, I suppose, because it's maybe not really a manual, so I could change that to reference. Gives you a suggestion there, manual. Then the storage path, you can set up a custom storage path for where it must save it. And it's like subfolders, if you want to call it, physical subfolders on the drive, the storage drive. I'm just storing everything in default at the moment. I have named something, and I'll come back to it just now. I've just named some images that I've got as a sort of almost like a photo album actually. But if you've got a couple of different default, maybe you want to put all your receipts in a receipts folder. You want to put all your, you don't need to do this because you've got the searching. But I'm just saying if you do, you could set up storage folders for that. Otherwise, just leave it default. Tags, you can set up multiple. You can choose multiple of these. So this, I'm going to say, is battery related. I keep a lot of battery related documents together. So I'll give it a tag battery. And I think, let me just see what else is there. Manual, yeah, reference, I can say. These are just tags to sort and filter on, really, when you're searching. And if you need to, you can also click over here and you can create a new tag if you don't have a tag yet for something. And that is where you can do your matching algorithms for the machine language. So you could set up email, and if it does a fuzzy match to the word email or contains EML or whatever the case is, then classify it as email. Yeah, that's basically it. The other thing it does over here, I can just show you, is the content. So this is now what it's done the OCR scan on. If you do a search, it'll be able to search on all this text because it has recognized the text, and it does the same thing for a 70-page magazine as well. It's a fantastic way of saving all your newsletters or saving your PDF magazines that you receive, because if you later on want to go search for an article, you can search through everything in one go. The metadata is really just the data that describes the document itself. Notes, you can add a note as well, which is also searchable, and just say, I scanned this. But it could be a note to someone else. I've got 1 or 2 notes when I've wanted to remember something specifically about a document. That'll just be a history of any changes or anything else that happened with this document. And you can also set permissions. So by default, I'm the owner. I'm the only owner at the moment. But you could also give groups or other people rights to view, or group view, or a group edit function as well. And that's where you'd set that up per document. And that basically is it for the document. So, you just say save now and go back to your documents, and it's done. Oh, it's probably resorted it maybe now. Oh, it's sorted on something else. So this view that you've got here of the documents, you'll see you can obviously do a selection of documents. You can also filter by what do you want to show. You can show just on the details for each one. You just want to see the title and you don't want all the other information, or title and tags only, when added, that sort of thing. And you can change. I like this view with the bit of a summary below it and so on, but you could also opt to see a list view, or this other view with an extract of the content. And this is, I do like this view for searching, and I'll show you why just now. So if I go back there, and then of course you can sort. It's sorted on the archive number at the moment, but you could search on title, sort on title, sorry, or when added, like that was now today. So maybe I want to keep this format. And yeah, if you've got paths, custom paths set up, you can also just select that. That would now, for example, be those Newlands Forest walks. I've got a custom path. All the images that are scanned in were dropped into that path. I can now filter on it, almost like a photo album. And the only problem, of course, is you don't really have proper photo album features. I wouldn't really recommend using this as a photo album, but it's possible that you could do something like this and then, sort of click there to view the picture. But you're going to see, look what's missing. There's no next. You don't have any next and previous to navigate. So I don't know that it's actually such a great way of doing things. So yeah, it's not really ideal, I don't think. But I mean, you could use the feature to add notes, I suppose, and text. I was just testing it out to see if I could use this as a photo album, but I think it lacks too many features, really. You could share these photos, but I wouldn't go as far as saying you could use it as a photo album. So this is the selecting what to show, format and sorting and views at the top. And this over here is the filtering part. So maybe let's just go back to documents as default. You could filter now on any one of these tags. If you want to see just books or just camera related or computer related, you could use that as your filter on the tag. Or as I said before, you could filter on the correspondent. You could filter on the actual document type. So, I could go there to book, Python handbook. This was probably a PDF, by the way. and then you click over the top right to reset the filter. You could, if you had multiple storage paths, you could include or exclude based on that. You could filter on dates, or you could filter on the various permissions, like documents shared with me, for example, or shared by me. So that is the one thing. I can show you the search as well here. So just some advice here. You want to make sure you are defaulting to advanced search. I should actually say up here maybe just to demo it. If you don't have advanced search on, it seems to be it will not be showing you highlighting of where the word appears in the document. So if I was to type in now, say, well, actually I think it was a thing called billionaire. Yeah. So billionaire, it's returned like one document here at the moment. And if I click on the document, well, I've got the view of the document, but I'm not seeing where does that word appear in the document anywhere. So the best way to do that I found really is I go to documents and I'll search in here and just say billionaire. Well, there's a document. And so let me just go and search for something like, say, computer. Okay, there's a couple of documents now. There's a couple of magazines here. Oh, there's exactly, I've just gone and done exactly what I said I shouldn't do. It's actually a matter of not being on title and content up here. It's a matter of actually being on the advanced search. Now, I did actually say it was supposed to default to that, but if I go to advanced search, you'll see now with the word computer, for the particular document, it's highlighting some of the places where the word appears. So it makes it sort of easy to maybe find the context, that you're actually looking for. Like here's a receipt, for example, and it was Computer Mania. That was the company that I bought this item from. So it's actually highlighting the tag in this case. There's a couple of others. Comparison I did of instant messages, which was a spreadsheet. There it's highlighting where the word computer was used. And there's a couple of others from books and other things that I've scanned in here as well. So just bear in mind, if you want to get the snippet view showing you the context of where the word is that you're searching for, then just make sure that you have set this to advanced search. You can also use logic operators. I haven't actually used it very much, but I forget if it's now plus or minus or whatever. Let me just see if I say minus April. Not sure if it... No, I don't think it's going to work like that, but it might be, and I'm not 100% sure, but it does do the various logic operators as well for searching. So, just have a look again. It's got some manual as to how you can sort of better utilize that type of search. So, yeah, that's the searching basically. Let me just close those and go back to documents. Just change the view back to this view. As you'll see, we've got a filter still set at the moment, which is the search. So you can always just reset your filters there and you'll have all your documents. So just to show some of the documents, well, I've got 2 emails here. These were email files that I received and I just saved it. So it's already put a title in and that sort of thing. You can view it, and that would be the view of the actual email. That's the contents. And this is obviously what it would be then be searching as well if you do a search, to find this email again later on. But that's an example of an email that was scanned in. And I think you can also highlight some stuff as well if you want to. Well, what's a highlighter? Was this? Oh, sorry, here's the highlight color. There we go. So you can highlight certain text as well if you want to in your document, that you saved. So let's just go back again. So that's an example of email. And I can go to images. Oh, I've got a document selected. I didn't want to do that. Let's just go back there. Document type. There's a couple of different images that I've saved as well over here. If you're wondering about the highlight of my name there, that's actually the correspondent, as I recall. But this is various images, and if I go to this image and just have a look and we go and open it in edit mode, you should see under content, you'll see what it's tried to do here. Even though this was a JPEG or whatever image it was, it's done some text recognition as far as it could. So it will do text recognition of images as well. Then what else have we got? Well, let's reset filters. I've got, for example, on magazines, we could open, say, one of these magazines as well. And if you look here under content, these come as PDFs, but you'll see it's actually done an OCR on the content. Very handy for finding, you know, sort of an article or something in a magazine that you read last year. Let me just see. Oh, I can just show you there also is this presentation. So this was an ODP, Open Document Presentation format. And there is the presentation. This is from a previous video I did. But again, if you go look at content, there, it's actually scanned in a lot of that text as well. So again, if it's something that I'm searching on, say the word meshtastic, I would actually be able to find this presentation if I did it a year or so ago. So I just want to check if there's anything else of interest here, really. Oh, a spreadsheet as well. Let's look at my secure instant messenger spreadsheet comparison I did a while ago. If we open this spreadsheet, or the scanned spreadsheet, you'll see there is the view of the spreadsheet, but again, there is the content that it's scanned in as well. So all the stuff will be able to be searchable. So yeah, you can also then filter, as I said, on storage paths, dates, permissions, and that sort of thing as well. That's really the documents view. On the saved views, I have sort of really shown this already, but if you go to documents over here at the top and you've applied a filter or two, say for example it's these type of documents, you can actually save this view there. If you click on views and you click there, save as, you can save it as a named view, and then it'll appear here where all these saved views will appear, and just quickly click on them. So you could have a saved view for specific things as well and quickly jump to them. It is also possible to have a saved view appear in your dashboard so that it would appear here. I used to have the photos appear here actually, and I'll show that just now. Correspondence I've really shown already, but that's where you'll add a new one. Tags, this is just a specific view of all your different tags. You can set colors, and yeah, you can edit them over here and that sort of thing as well, or filter by. The document types, these are just the ones I've created, but you can have any ones that you want. Storage paths, and you would add, or if you highlight, you can delete. These are just the views that you'd be deleting. You're not deleting your original documents. Custom fields, if you were to add a custom field, you could just give it a name and say what type of type. Remember, this is important, the data type, because you could then, if it's a number, for example, you could search for between a certain number, more than, less than, that sort of thing. So quite useful depending on what you need for that. And here are the workflows. So what I've done is I added a workflow, and I'd created one of it, which I called assign the default correspondent. And if I go to edit, I can show you what a workflow looks like. You can say where it appears and when it's processed, first, second, third, if it's enabled or not. And you basically set a trigger for it and an action. So under triggers, I've used the document added. The moment a document is added, trigger this workflow. And you can also set certain other filters. In other words, it can be a document added, but it must be tagged as Android, or it needs to match a certain algorithm, or it needs to be a certain type of document, or it can match a certain pattern. Then it'll trigger the action. And I should also just say the one is a document add type, but there is also a consumption started. There's not really very many, but those are really the actions that you can define. The triggers that you can define. And then on the action side, what I've done is I've said to it, once the document is added, what type of action do I want? I want it to assign something, but you can also get it to as a different type of action to remove something as well. But I've essentially said to it assign, and I've said there assign the correspondent as, and it's myself, but I could have made it, my wife. Or you could assign a tag automatically to it, or you could assign a title to it, or a storage path. So you can set up some basic workflow rules, really. That was the idea of the workflows. On email, this is just really where you would configure your IMAP account, and any particular rules you wanted to apply. You could filter maybe that it's only certain types of emails or ones that mention words like contract or receipt or whatever the case is there. And then, of course, you've got trash if you need to recover anything from trash. We can just go look at settings. The settings you can get from either over here on the left, or if you go to the profile name on the top right, you can also click there on settings. These are sort of the basic settings you've got. You can choose what language you want it to display and the website basically to appear in. The date display, well, I use the ISO International Standard Date, and our country uses that standard as well. But if you are from the USA, then I think you would choose that other format with the month, day, year or something. Well, there's the formats anyway. Yes, English US, English Great Britain, Dutch, whatever the case is over there. But yeah, we use ISO. How many items you want to see on a page, if you want to use an external editor or not, whether you want the sidebar to be slim with just the icons appearing, dark mode, which is quite nice, and I do like this. You don't see this very often. You can invert thumbnails in dark mode. Reason why is sometimes if dark mode is applied, you get that sort of negative effect on the icons, and you could use this obviously to make it appear correctly. And this is where you can choose the theme color, the green highlighting that you see everywhere. Document editing, automatically remove inbox tags. That's for the email scanning of emails, your bulk editing confirmations and so on. And you'll see here for global search, which is at the top over here, I did actually say to it, full search links to advanced search. If it defaults to title and content, and as I showed you earlier, you can't then see your snippets with your highlighted text. So I prefer to keep it on advanced search. And then yes, you can enable or disable notes. And then there's permission settings as well. So you can set the default owner. And as I said before there, you could set these per document, but this will be for a default for the documents. Do you want to set default view permissions for a couple of people or groups or editing, that sort of thing? Again, depends if you're an organization. Notifications. And here's the saved views. Now, you'll see there on the saved views, you could also click show on the dashboard. And then whatever that custom view you had that you've set up, it'll appear on your dashboard. So it could even be a custom view showing you the last 10 documents that have been processed, you know, that sort of thing. And I've got them as small cards and so on. So I can save that. If we go back to dashboard, you'll see there now it's included that as part of the default view. So that was settings. Configuration. This is where you'd set the application logo. Important to note, it has to be an SVG file. You can't upload a PNG or a JPEG or anything. It has to be SVG. You can give the application this title at the top left over there. And then there's some default settings for the OCR. I've got the output type defaulting to PDF-A. You can set mode. You can set page rotation. I've got cleaning set at the moment, but it has a few other options there. Set the default language. Pages, image DPI, rotating and auto rotating. There's a few things you can configure there. That's for the automatic OCR. Then you've got the users and groups. Well, I've only got one user at the moment, but you'd add your users and add groups here, and then you could give those permissions to them. File tasks, this we've looked at a little bit earlier. It just shows you what is complete or queued or whatever the case is. And then you've also got a log over there. Yeah, just shows you everything that's basically been happening, including errors and that sort of thing. And then the link you see at the bottom here, the documentation, takes you to the website's documentation for the application. So that's where you quickly click. And you'll see as well at the bottom left there, it's got 2.11.2. That's the version that I've got installed at the moment. So yeah, that is really it for the application then, I think. There's not that much to it. I don't think it's really that complicated. You've just got to remember the step of upload or scan, set a few tags or whatever the case is, and it's done. That's it. And the rest of the time, you'll really be searching for stuff, I think. So I think then just to end off, I'm just going to show you another application quickly that I am using or I was using previously for desktop search. And it's this application called DocFetcher. It's a Java-based application. So what is nice is it does run on Windows, Mac, or Linux. I do not keep it running all the time either. you can tell it just to update the index once or twice or whenever you run it. You don't have to keep this thing running in the background, so there's no resources really. It is a free application and an open source application, and it's really pretty basic and sort of easy to use. I'll just show you quickly how it works, and I'll put a link as well to its website below the video. Installation is pretty easy actually. I think on Linux I've just installed from the AUR, from the Arch user repository actually, in my case. But let me just show you quickly what the app looks like, and you can decide really if you want to make use of it. That's how the application is going to start up. You can show basically on the left hand side here which documents to display in the search results and what do you want to search through. I'm not going to do so. One thing you're going to notice that there's a difference here between Paperless and this product is this one does search an actual PST file, and that's why I actually used this originally. I had to, when I left work, I took my 10 gigabytes plus of emails worth in case anybody needed to know something that I'd then done 20 years ago and what happened and that sort of thing, because otherwise the stuff just gets deleted really after a while. So I took my archived PST emails, and you can add those to DocFetcher and it'll be part of your search product. If you type a term in that is anywhere inside that email, you can instantly find it. It's incredibly powerful. I just unfortunately don't really want to demo that now because this is confidential and it was work-related emails, so it wouldn't be proper to do that. So I'm going to actually just untick all my email files there. Let's just take a term that's fairly common, maybe like say computer. Okay, there it's found. It's found some text documents, and you'll see it gives you a nice preview. If this was email, you'd actually see a proper preview of the Microsoft email. No Outlook, no email application required. So very nice. I love that searching of the PSTs. These are, I think, browser bookmarks that it's found. Let me just go down a bit. These are what? That looks like an image. That's an image, JPEG. These are PDFs, I think. Yes, ham radio manual. So if I clicked on that, I don't know, it's not showing much out of it. Here, I'll be careful what I show here now. Oh, that was just like to do stuff and everything. Here's more. These are images as well. The word computer probably appeared in it somewhere. Maybe more of interest, but yeah, like I said, it certainly is searching things like this is a Microsoft Word document. It's just not showing much of the content here. I just do like the fact you don't need the applications installed, in other words, to read the documents. Maybe if we just go on to say a PDF maybe, and take out some of these other documents here. MP3 music as well. Okay, so now I've got a PDF, for example, here, and that is the content of the PDF, and you can see it's already highlighted where the word computer appears. So yeah, pretty quick and pretty fast. I've also got my Obsidian notes indexed here, the markdown files. And then also things like EPUB files. So if I was to take these off, these are EPUB books from my Calibre library. So if I was to click on that one, you'd see there are the words also highlighted inside this EPUB book with the full contents of the book. So yeah, that's really it. I don't want to go through too much detail on it, but one last thing I just want to talk about quickly here is the search scope. This is where you add your PSTs or your Calibre library or your documents or your music or whatever the case is. So you'll see on a particular index, like say the Calibre library there, you can create, oh, I mean, it's not to create, you can update the index, you could rebuild the index, you could give it a different name over here, you could remove it, or orphaned indexes, you can check, etc. That's really where you'd update the index. But if you wanted to create a new one over here, you would just right click inside here anywhere, say create index from, and you could either specify a physical folder, like your folder where all your documents are on your hard drive or your music or whatever. It could be an archive, like a zip file that you just want to, that's already zipped, that you just want to specify. Or what's quite interesting to me is the Outlook PST. And then again, you will just navigate to where the PST is, select it, and it will appear in here and start being archived. And that really is it. You'll see even inside the PST, it even shows you there the folders that are actually inside the PST file itself. But I just wanted to mention it as an alternative, really, that, you know, there is an alternative as well to the archiver if you just want to keep everything in place. It's not going to create all that structure and everything that you want, but for many people, maybe that is just good enough, and that'll do it for you. So yeah, I hope you found the video interesting, and either one of the other alternatives that I've mentioned here may be of use to you, and hope it helps you get your life a little bit more organized and helps your family or your organization, especially if you're a small business, to be able to better categorize and sort where things are and to be able to find them. Thanks very much for watching, and stay safe out there, and I'll see you in my next video.